Hello friends, welcome to Shiksharthi. In this video, we will be discussing example numbers 2, 4, 5 and 7 on heights and distances. So let's start. Now example number 2, let me just read out the question for you. It says an electrician has to repair an electric fault on a pole of height 5 meters. She needs to reach a point 1.3 meters below the top of the pole to undertake the repair work. We'll just refer to this figure. What should be the length of the ladder that she should use, which when inclined at an angle of 60 degrees to the horizontal would enable her to reach the required position? Also, how far from the foot of the pole, should she place the foot of the ladder? And then they have given some piece of information here. So the diagram here which we need to understand here is, what is the pole here? AD is the pole and she needs to reach a height of BD on the pole itself to carry out the repair work. Now it is already given that the length of AD is 5 meters, right? The length of AB is given as 1.3 meters. Now when I subtract this, I get the length of BD, which comes out to be 3.7 meters. But before I plot this piece of information, let me first put the entire information. This is the ladder on which she is supposed to reach the point B to carry out some repair work on the pole. And this ladder is inclined at an angle of 60 degrees, which makes it a clear cut. So if you recall the concepts that we had discussed in the very first video, we'll just pick up those things from here. So in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the side opposite to 60 degrees, and let's say the side opposite to 30 degrees, you will take it as x. In that case, the side opposite to 60 degrees becomes x root 3, right? And the length of the ladder, which is the hypotenuse, becomes 2x. So though they have asked you to calculate the value, which is the length of the ladder, which is BC and DC only, but in order to learn completely, we will calculate all the three values and then associate which value to be used in the question. So I'm again introducing the PBH concept here. PBH in a 30, 60, 90, base is x in this case, perpendicular is x root 3 and the hypotenuse here is 2x. Have they given you the perpendicular? Yes, they have given you the perpendicular length as which we had calculated. This is nothing but BD. This length x is nothing but DC. This length hypotenuse is nothing but the length of the ladder, which is BC. Now this is given to you as, I'm taking the equal to sign like this. So the length of BD we had calculated is given to you as 3.7 meters, which is x root 3. So in that case, the value of x comes out to be, so if x root 3 is equal to 3.7 meters, the value of x comes out to be 3.7 meters divided by root 3. This is the value of x, and the value of 2x will be just the twice of this value, which is nothing but 7.4 meters divided by root 3. Now you can calculate the exact value here, or else you can leave the answer as it is. So as discussed earlier, the question becomes very easy if I use just the trigonometric ratios. 30, 60 and 90 is what we use, right? If you wish, you can just leave the answer as it is, or you can calculate and get to the correct answer. So let's move on to example number 4. So talking about example 4, first I'll read out the question for you and then we will plot it and then we will solve the question. So the question says, so there is a building. From a point P on the ground, the angle of elevation of the top of a 10-meter tall building is 30 degrees. Okay. a flag is hoisted at the top of the building and the angle of elevation of the top of the flag from point P is 45 degrees. Find the length of the flag staff and the distance of the building from the point P. You may take the value of root 3 as, now root 3 may be taken as 1.732. So there are two main points which need to be understood. There is a flag which is being hosted from the top of a building. So the building here is AB, and the length of the flag staff, the flag staff here is, we are talking about the length dB. And then once, if I can just use the angle of elevation, so the angle of elevation of the top of the building is 30 degrees, and this is P is the point of observation on the ground, and from this P the point of elevation of the flag is 45 degrees, is what is already given. Okay, so what are you supposed to find out? You are supposed to find out the length of the flag staff and the distance of the building from the point P. So we are supposed to find out PA and find out DB is what they are asking you to find out. Okay, so you will see that the concepts that we had discussed will be used immensely now. So what is the concept that I am supposed to use here? A 30, 60, 90 triangle, wherein if this length AB is x, in that case this becomes x root 3, and in that case this becomes how much? 2x. So now this is 45, 45, 90. So can I just use these values as it is? So for a 30, 60, 90, it's just the orientation that changes. If I change the orientation like this or maybe like this, the orientation changes. So I know that the length of this hypotenuse of the outer triangle, this will be x root 6, right? And this length DC, which here is the length DB, will be nothing but x times of root 3 minus 1. And I'm not explaining how did I get these values, because I have already explained it to you in my earlier video. So I'm just picking up those values and just substituting it here so that you can just use those values. But you will have to mention how did you get these values, which I have already explained it to you earlier. Okay. So once you have been able to derive all these values, which is pretty easy to derive, now once you have understood, it becomes easier for you to find out the distance PA. So the distance PA is how much? X root 3. Okay. And what is the next thing that they have asked you to find out? They have asked you to find out DB, which is nothing but x times of root 3 minus 1. Right? If somebody tells me the value of x, it becomes easier for me to solve the question. So let us see, is the question telling me or giving me the value of x? Okay, it says from a point P on the ground, the angle of elevation of the top of a 10-meter tall building. 10-meter tall building. That means they have already given you the value of AB as 10 meters, which is the value of x. So can I say this becomes 10 root 3? And this length becomes how much? 10 times of root 3 minus 1. So if I have to get the exact value from here, so maybe this value I can say is 17.32 meters. And this value is, if from 1.732, if I subtract 1, I get how much? 7.32 in, 0.732 into 10 makes it 7.32 meters. Please recall, please take a piece of advice here. You will have to write down how did you get these values, x root 3, 2x, x root 6. How did you get these 5 values, for which you will have to watch my first video on heights and distances, so that whenever it comes to deriving, you can just derive these values on your fingertips, just with the help of PBH concept and applying some logic to it. It will just happen like this. Okay, let's move on to example number 5. So talking about example number 5. So example number 5 says the shadow of a tower standing on a level ground is found to be 40 meters longer when the sun's altitude is 30 degrees than when it is 60 degrees. Find the height of the tower. Okay. So let us say this is my tower. AB is nothing but my tower. And another way to understand the altitude, I mean, it basically talks about what? It talks about the shadow of a tower standing on a level ground is found to be 40 meters longer. Okay. When the angle of elevation of the sun changes from of 60 degrees to a 30 degrees. Okay. So now where will the shadow of this tower fall? Depends on the sun. So let us assume the shadow is falling on this side. So this is the first shadow that we are talking about. So if the angle of elevation of the sun was 60 degrees, then the shadow length is BC. But if the angle of elevation would have changed from a 60 degrees to a 30 degrees, in that case the shadow length becomes 40 meter longer. So this becomes the shadow length now, and initially the shadow length was BC. So 40 meters longer means what? The length of DC becomes 40 meters, right? Let us just use the 30, 60, 90 concept that we had done earlier. So I have already mentioned it for, I have just mentioned it here for a ready reference. So I'm just supposed to use a 30, 60, 90. In that case, the side opposite to a 30 degrees is x, right? The side opposite to 60 degrees is how much? X root 3. This becomes how much? This becomes 2x. The side opposite to this we are talking about 30, 60, 90. So now this entire angle becomes 60 degrees. So now in that case, this entire length becomes how much? It becomes 3x. We are talking about the base. So in that case, the DC length becomes 2x. Let's put it as 2x. And this length becomes how much? 2x root 3. So we got all the 5 lengths in terms of x. Now you can just substitute and find out whatever they are asking you to find out. So for example, can we find out all the lengths? We can find out all the lengths. Do we have DC? Yes. Can we find out BC? Yes. The length of BC is x. So if 2x is equal to this, so x becomes equal to 20 meters. Right? Can we find out the length of the tower, which is AB? Yes. Which comes out to be how much? X root 3. So this comes out to be 10 root 3 meters. Can we find out the length AC? Yes. The length AC is 2x only, which becomes 40 meters only. And can we find out the length AD? Yes. What is the length of AD? It is 2x root 3. What was the value of x root 3, 10 root 3, and this is twice of that. So this becomes 20 root 3. Did we get all the 5 lengths? Yes. And did they ask us to find out all the 5 lengths? No. Now let us see what is the relevance of the question here, because we need to put in only those values which they had asked in the question. Though if I am able to calculate all these values, I am not going to be at a loss. Okay. So what have they asked you to find out? They have asked you to find the height of the tower. So the height of the tower here is how much? AB, which comes out to be 20 root 3. How much is AB? So what is the height of the tower that we got from here? So let's see, have we substituted the values correctly? Okay, so the value of x here was 20. So this becomes 20 root 3, not 10 root 3. The value of 2x in that case is 40 only. The value of 2x, so this becomes 40 root 3. So they are asking you to find out the length the height of the tower, so they are asking to find out AB, and AB in this case comes out to be 20 root 3 meters. Let's move on to the next example, that is example number 7. So talking about example number 7, so let me read out the question for you. It says, from a point on a bridge across the river, the angles of depression of the banks of the opposite sides of the river are 30 degrees and 45 degrees respectively. Okay, if the bridge is at a height of 3 meters from the banks, find the width of the river. Okay, so what we can do here is, let us say AB is the width of the river. Now P is nothing but the bridge that I have taken. Let us assume that this is the bridge. So from a point P on the bridge, one side of the river, which is one, let us say the bank, the side of the river, and the other side of the river, the angle of depression is 30 degrees and 45 degrees respectively. So this angle also becomes 35 degrees and this becomes 45 degrees. So just let us use these two. It's a combination. This question is a combination of these two triangles side by side, in which the right angle is common to these two triangles. Okay, so in that case, this is 30, 60, 90. This is something that you are supposed to do it from your side. So this becomes 45 degrees. Okay, now if the side opposite to 30 degrees is x, the side opposite to 60 degrees becomes x root 3, and the side opposite to 90 degrees is 2x. In that case, now talking about this triangle, if the perpendicular is x, the base will also be x, because this is 45, 45, so these two sides would be equal. In that case, this side, the length of PB becomes x root 2. So how many lengths have you calculated? 3 plus 2, 5. So kind of different triangle now. So the concept here is now combining these two triangles together. What else would they ask? Now they are asking you to find out the width of the river, which is AB. So can I say this is nothing but x plus x root 3, which can be further written as x times of 1 plus root 3. What is the value of x here? The value of x is nothing but the height of the bridge from the base, which is 3 meters. So from here I can just substitute the value of x as 3 and I get it as thrice of 1 plus 3 meters. Hope you will be able to use all the concepts in the questions henceforth. If you feel that this video was really informative and it will help you to solve the questions completely and correctly, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. If you have already done so, click on the bell icon and select all so that you start receiving updates from us regularly. If you want us to do some videos on specific topics and difficult topics, please do not hesitate and put it in the comment section so that we can do it for you. Thank you so much. Until next we meet, goodbye.